Hello guys, welcome to P4 webinar. Our today's topic is foreign currency risk management. This file is available in handout section. You can download this file from the handout section. In this particular topic, we will study how to convert currency, how currency fluctuates, types of foreign currency risk, and their hedging methods. So these are the main 4 points which we are going to study, but the important ones are types of foreign currency risk and their hedging methods. And these are the basics on which we have to build our concepts. Then we obviously study the types of foreign currency risk and their hedging methods. This file is available in the handout section. So please download this file for the study purpose. So I'm moving to the next slide, in which we gonna study how to convert currency. Okay, this is the exchange rate. $1.50 over pound. This is also called spot rate. The currency which is in the numerator is the first currency. The currency in the denominator is second currency. This exchange rate can be stated like this: 1.50 dollar over pound, and it can be written like this: 1 pound is equal to $1.50. So let's learn how to convert the currency. Let's suppose you go to the exchange and you want to buy some currency, like you want to buy $5,000. You are in UK and you want to buy some dollars, and the exchange rate is $1.50 over pound. There is a very simple way to convert the currency, and that simple way is either you have to multiply this exchange rate, with the transaction amount, or you have to divide this exchange rate with the transaction amount. Let's suppose let's multiply it with the transaction amount. 1.50 dollar over pound. You cannot get answer in pound because dollar will become square, and it will be like dollar square over pound. Obviously that is not the standard rate. We haven't heard anything like dollar square over pound. So this example cannot be solved if we multiply exchange rate with the transaction amount. So if we divide it with the exchange rate, dollar will be cancelled out, and the denominator will become the new numerator, and answer will be in pound. So what you're gonna do in exam, try to multiply or divide it with the exchange rate. If just imagine the principle of like with like. If you calculate answer by multiplying it, then do multiply. If you are getting the answer by dividing, then do divide it with the exchange rate. Let's suppose, let's clear it with these examples. Let's suppose you want to buy dollars, $5,000, and the rate is $1.50 over pound. As dollar is the same currency, so you are going to divide it with this exchange rate. Dollar dollar will be cancelled out and answer will be in pound. Okay, now I'm moving this. This was the first example. Now let's suppose this is the second example. You want to buy $8,000 and the exchange rate is $1.2 over euro. So what you are going to do here, you should divide exchange rate with the transaction amount. So dollar dollar will be cancelled out and the denominator, the euro, will become the new numerator and answer will be in euros. So answer will be like 8,000 over 1.2 and answer will be in euros. Obviously after solving it, answer will be in euros. And in this example, if you can't divide it with the exchange rate because dollar and Canadian dollar are not the similar currencies. So in this case, you have to multiply 1.2 Canadian dollar over US dollar. US dollar will be cancelled out and answer will be in Canadian dollar. So the rule is very simple. If you are getting the answer by dividing, then do apply the division. And if you are getting the answer by multiplying, then do multiply it with the transaction amount. So it's a process of 2 to 3 seconds. You have to think in your mind and then applying. Then you should apply this principle. Either you are going to multiply it with the exchange with the transaction amount, or you are going to divide the exchange rate with the transaction amount. So now I'm moving to the next stage. Next slide. Actually, there are two rates for the currency. One is the bid rate and second is the offer or ask rate. Bid rate is normally a lower rate and offer rate is normally a higher rate. Bank will buy at lower rate. Bank will buy at lower rate and bank will sell at higher rate. Bank will buy at lower price and bank will sell at higher price, and the difference between these two rates are spread, which will be the income of bank. Obviously, bank will buy from you at lower rate and bank will sell to the public at higher rate, and bank will earn the difference between these two rates, which will be the spread. Spread will be higher for those currencies which are which normally has no trading volume, and spread will be lower for those currencies which usually trades in large volumes. So what you gonna do in exam if there is a bid rate and if there is also an offer rate? Just remember the principle that bank will always be the winner in case of currency conversion and you will always be the loser in case of currency conversion. So whenever you convert currency or exchange currency with a bank, bank will always win and you will always lose. So remember remember this golden principle, that is, always consider yourself at adverse position. And there are two meanings of adverse position. First one is in case of payment, you have to pay high amount. And in case of receipt, if you are going to receive something from the bank, obviously receipt will be less receipt or lower receipt. What is the meaning of adverse position? If you are going to pay something, you have to pay more. If you are going to receive something, you are going to receive less. So pay high and less receipt. So always consider yourself adverse position while converting the currency, while exchanging the currency. Let's learn it with the help of examples. Let's say you are in UK and you are going to buy $50,000 and you need your answer in pound. So by applying the previous slide principle, as dollar can be cancelled out, so you are going to divide it with the exchange rate. So I am going to divide it with the exchange rate, and I'm going to buy this currency. Obviously, in order to buy the currency, I have to pay. And remember the principle that was, if you have to pay, you have to pay more, pay high. So what I'm going to do here, I have to divide this by the lower number. If I divide it with the lower number, answer will be high. So in order to, whenever you buy any currency, you have to pay, and the principle was, if you are going to pay, you have to pay more. So how you gonna solve it by in a high number? By dividing it with the lower number. So $50,000 will be divided by $1.2520 over pound. Okay, the second example is, you're going to buy $50,000 and the currency is dollar over euro. And you need your answer in dollars. At dollars are the same similar currency, so you are going to divide it. And another thing, you need to buy this currency, and whenever you buy some currency, you have to pay. And what was the principle? You have to pay more. And how you gonna solve it? By dividing it with the lower figure. So I'm dividing $50,000 with the lower rate in order to get the higher answer. Why I am getting the higher answer? Because I'm going to buy the dollars. So in order to buy the dollars, I'm going to pay in pounds. So in pounds, I need the higher answer, the higher value. Okay, this is okay. I'm moving to the next example. Then we will come back to solve the third example. So here you are selling $60,000, and the rate is dollar over CHF. If rate is dollar over CHF, that means you are going to divide it with the rate, because dollar is the same currency. In this case, you are selling your currency, and remember one thing, whenever you are going to sell your currency, you need you are on the receiving end. You will receive some other currency, and what was the principle? You will receive less, so you will divide it with the higher rate. Okay, in this example, dollar and Canadian dollar will not be cancelled out, so in this case you are going to multiply it. Multiply it with the Canadian dollar, and obviously you are selling something, so that means you are going to receive. And obviously in this case, we know that whenever you receive, you will receive less. So that's how you're gonna solve these examples in exam. There are two steps to solve the currency. First, decide whether you should divide or multiply the exchange rate with the transaction amount. Let's suppose I'm taking assumption that you are clear where you're gonna divide and where you're gonna multiply the exchange rate. Second step is always consider yourself in adverse position. What is the meaning of adverse? If you are going to pay, you have to pay more. If you are going to receive, you are receiving less. So in this part, you have to divide the exchange rate. If you are going to divide the exchange rate, you have to divide with the lower rate in order to get the higher answer in case of payment, and in case of receipt, you are going to divide with the lower rate. 90% of the currency conversions are from the division rule. So this is the summary of what we have learned in the previous two slides. What is it? Always consider yourself at adverse position. The meaning of adverse: you will receive lower receipt and you will have to pay higher payment. This is the principle of currency division. Whenever you divide the exchange rate with the transaction amount, remember these two principles. And obviously the multiplication rule will be the vice versa. In case of receipt, in case of selling the currency, in case of exports, because in case of exports, you are going to sell the foreign currency. In case of gain, in case of income, in case of gain, in case of income, in case of foreign currency receipt, in case of exports, the ultimate step is that you are going to sell that foreign currency. And whenever you sell that foreign currency, you will receive less. So in order to get the lower answer, divide with the higher currency rate. So in case of receipt, in case of sell currency, exports, gain, income, you are going to divide, and you have to divide it with the higher rate, because whenever you divide it with the higher rate, the answer will be in lower reduced number. In case of payment, you are paying something, you are paying in foreign currency. Buy currency, because whenever you buy foreign currency, the purpose is that you are going to pay it. Import, you have let's suppose you have imported this pen from international market, and in order to settle this transaction, you have to pay in foreign currency. And what you're gonna do, you will buy that foreign currency and then send that foreign currency to your supplier. So in case of import, in case of loss, in case of expense, all you have to do, you have to buy currency. And whenever you have to buy currency, in case of dividend, you have to divide it with the lower rate, because whenever you divide it with the lower rate, your answer will be higher. So this is a summary. This is a summary of dividend case: receipt, sell currency, exports, gain, income. In every case, you are going to sell the currency, and whenever you are going to sell the currency, you have to divide with the higher rate, because answer will be lower. In case of payment, buy currency, import, loss, expense, in every case you are going to pay that currency. And what was the rule? You have to pay more. And how you gonna have to pay more? Dividing it with the lower rate. Okay, this was a kind of summary. Try to remember these 2 points. Obviously, you will never face problem in conversion of currency. 90% of the cases, there is a case of division. So in case of division, remember these 2 points. In case of foreign currency receipt, in case of foreign currency exports, foreign currency gain, foreign currency income, in all of these examples, you have to sell the currency. And whenever you sell the currency, you have to divide with the higher rate. Because whenever you divide with the higher rate, answer will be lower. And we know from the basics, whenever you sell currency, you will get answer in lower numbers. And how you gonna get answer in lower number? Dividing it with the higher rate. In case of payment, in case of foreign currency payment, in case of foreign currency import, in case of foreign currency loss, in case of foreign currency expense, in all of these examples, you have to buy the foreign currency. Whenever you buy the foreign currency, you have to pay, and whenever you have to pay more. And how you gonna have to pay more? By dividing it with the lower currency rate. That's how you're gonna solve the currency conversion problems. Okay, I'm moving to the next slide. That is how currency fluctuates. These are the common reasons that how currency fluctuates. Now, number one is supply and demand, exports and imports. Okay, supply and demand is the main heading. And the number one point is speculation. Currency has the currency is trading in 24 hours. Currency is that a trading instrument that has the highest number in the world. On daily basis, trillion of dollars currency is being traded among the traders. So speculation is one of the reasons that why currency fluctuates, because one of the primary reason is speculation. Investors are buying some currency in order to speculate for its profit. Investors are selling currency in order to get from its selling position. So majority of the investors speculate on currency because in order to get the profit. So trading of currency is in like high volumes, is in very huge number. $1 trillion of currency is trading in a single day, and 24 hours market is open, except on the weekend. But in 24 hours market is open in US market, Asian markets, Australian market, European markets. Currency is continuously trading. And second reason is export and import. If you are a net exporter, that means you are the receiver of foreign currency, and whenever you are the receiver of foreign currency, your own currency will appreciate and foreign currency will depreciate. Next is foreign direct investment. If there are many multinational companies which are investing in your country, obviously they will bring some foreign currency with them, they will bring some dollars with them, and by investment of multinational, that foreign currency will depreciate and your home currency will appreciate. Higher the foreign direct investment, local currency of will appreciate. Obviously the investing company. Higher the export, local currency will appreciate. Okay, there are many ways to strengthen your currency. First one is increase the foreign currency exports. Your currency will appreciate. Increase the inflow from the foreign direct investment. Your currency will appreciate. And the last, which is not that effective, increase the foreign currency loan amount. Whenever there is an inflow from the foreign currency loan, your home currency will appreciate. But that is temporary, because you have to return that loan amount with interest. So these are the common reasons why currency fluctuates. Okay, let's move to the next slide. Next is the purchasing power parity theory. This theory follows law of one principle. This theory follows law of one price. And what do you mean by law of one price? Let's suppose if a commodity let's suppose in some emerging country, let's suppose in ABC country, is equal to 100 pesos, and in USA it is equal to $1. This means commodity have the same price in ABC country and in the USA, but obviously in ABC country it has a price of 100 pesos. In USA it has a price of $1. These are not the same prices. The exchange rate will be set like this, at 100 pesos should be equal to $1. If you buy that commodity in ABC country by paying 100 pesos or by spending 100 pesos, buy $1 and buy that commodity in USA, price will be same. If you buy that commodity in ABC country or if you buy that commodity price will be same, there will be no price differences. But we know from the basics, that these prices like 100 pesos and $1, these prices will change because the increase in commodity is called inflation. So there will be inflation in ABC country. Let's suppose there's a 20% inflation. So now that commodity has a price of 120 pesos, but in USA it has a price of $1. But this principle will still hold. That is law of one price. But obviously prices has been changed. The exchange rate will be set like that. Exchange rate will absorb this pressure of prices. Exchange rate will be changed like that. You buy that commodity in ABC country by spending 120 pesos or buy that dollar by spending 120 pesos and that dollar in USA using that dollar by the commodity. So prices will be same and the change in prices, the price will change only because of inflation. So the inflation impact, obviously the inflation will change the prices, but the inflation impact will be exactly absorbed by the exchange rate. So according to this theory, if you are provided with current spot rate, if you are provided with the inflation of first currency means the currency in the numerator, and inflation rate of the second currency means the currency of denominator. If you are provided with spot rate that was 100 pesos, if you are provided with 100 pesos over dollar the spot rate and the inflation of both currencies, inflation of first currency was 20%, inflation of second currency was nil, you can calculate the future spot rate. So spot rate is available, to country inflation rate is available, you can calculate the future spot rate. That is purchasing power parity theory. Okay, the next is interest rate parity theory. In interest rate parity theory, if you spot rate, if you are provided with current spot rate and interest rate of two currencies, you can calculate forward rate. This is the same rate which can be locked by the bank for customers. Whatever the circumstance in the future, your transaction will be done at that forward rate. So how you gonna calculate the forward rate? If you are provided with current spot rate, you are provided with inflation of two currencies, you can calculate the forward rate. Let's suppose the exchange rate of 100 pesos over dollar into 1 plus dollar interest rate is 2%. Pesos interest rate is 4%. That's 6%. You can calculate, you can predict the forward rate, and which this, let's suppose it is 104. This rate will be locked by the bank and your transaction will be held at 104 pesos over dollar, whatever the circumstance in future. If the currency appreciate or depreciate in future, you will convert your transaction at 104 pesos over dollar because it is a legally binding contract and you have done your rate in advance with the bank. That is a forward rate. So using the interest rate parity, you can calculate the forward rate. Okay, what about the next theory? That is Fisher effect. Remember the Fisher effect. 1 plus money rate is equal to 1 plus real rate into 1 plus inflation. This is the money rate of USA, this is the money rate of UK. Fisher effect assumes the real interest rate between two economies are same. Fisher effect assumes the real interest rate between two economies are same. If the real interest rate between two economies are same, then why nominal interest rates are different? Nominal interest rates are different because of inflation. It assumes that real interest rate between two economies are same and nominal interest rates are different because of inflation. If this relation holds true, that means the purchase power parity directly calculates the impact of inflation, directly considers the impact of inflation. The interest rate parity, which overall is considering the nominal interest rate, but the reason behind the difference between nominal interest rate is inflation rate. So interest rate parity indirectly covers the inflation. Purchase power parity directly covers the inflation. So in both scenarios, if Fisher effect holds true, the interest rate predicted by interest rate parity, the rate predicted by interest rate parity and the rate predicted by purchasing power parity, these rates should be equal because the Fisher effect assumes the real interest rate between two economies are same and why nominal interest rates are different because of inflation. So if Fisher effect, if purchasing power parity directly covers the inflation impact, at the same time interest rate parity indirectly covers the inflation impact. So if both are considering the inflation impact, that means both should have the same answer. So forward rate is equal to future spot rate. Okay, this was a very basic. This was already present in the F9. We quickly have take a recap of these concepts. If you have any question till now, you can write in the questions subsection. Okay, there is a question that about the law of one price. I'm again explain it, but that is not that important in P4. Uh, Purchasing power parity theory. This theory assumes that in the world all commodities have the same prices. Let's suppose there are two countries. One is USA and the other country. I think the audio problem has been resolved. Okay, we were discussing so it was a minor issue in network. Okay, let's restart it again. Okay, the commodity has a price in other countries 100 pesos. It should have the same price in USA, but obviously in USA the currency is not pesos. In USA is a currency is a dollar, and in USA this pen has a price equivalent to $1. In other country, this pen has a price of 100 pesos. In USA, it has a price of $1. But the principle is that it should have the same price. So the exchange rate will be set like this at 100 pesos. Um, I think now audio problem has been resolved. Okay. Okay. The pen has a price 100 pesos in one country and it has a price of $1 in another country. The exchange rate will set like that. You buy that pen in other country by spending 100 pesos, or by spending 100 pesos, get the $1 and buy that dollar and buy that pen in USA. Your cost or your price will be same. Okay, we know that the prices of commodities increase over time. That is called inflation. In other country, price of that pen increased to $120. Sorry, 120 pesos. But in USA, it has still the same price of $1. Now what? Now your law of one price will not hold. No, law of one price will still hold. The impact of inflation will be absorbed by the exchange rate. Exchange rate will be set like that, 120 pesos over $1. So you spend 120 pesos to buy that pen, or you spend 120 pesos to buy dollar and using that $1 to buy that pen. So whatever the circumstance, your price will be same. So in this scenario, if I provide you the spot rate and give you the inflation rate, you can calculate the future spot rate. Like in purchase by parity theory, if I give you the spot rate and I give you the inflation rate of two currencies, you can predict future spot rate. So that was a quick recap of law of one price. Let's move to the next important areas, which are the major part of P4. First one is translation risk. What is translation risk? Obviously, we know from the P2 chapter that whenever you have a subsidiary, you have to consolidate that subsidiary with your accounts. The parent company, which have invested in subsidiary, parent company will have to consolidate the financial statements of subsidiary company with its own financial statement. But the problem is that if your subsidiary is in depreciating currency environment, your subsidiary assets will start losing its value whenever you translate your subsidiary into your own currency. Like let's learn it with the help of an example. Let's say you are in USA and you are the parent company and your assets are equivalent to $100,000. And this is the subsidiary country and its assets are equal to 100,000 pesos. And currently the exchange rate is 100 pesos over dollar. So this is a time of consolidation. So at the year end, you translate the assets of the subsidiary into your own currency. So 100,000 pesos converted at 100 pesos over dollar, it will be $1,000. Okay, this was in the current year. Let's go 2016. In 2017, let's suppose assets has the same value. But now exchange rate of the subsidiary currency has depreciated 120 pesos over dollar. In this scenario, if your subsidiary currency depreciates, when you convert that 100,000 pesos over 120 peso over dollar, now asset value will decrease to $833. So if subsidiary is in depreciating currency environment, the subsidiary asset will lose its value on its translation. That is translation risk. What is the hedging method? If your assets are losing its value on translation, try to arrange maximum liabilities in pesos. Because if assets are losing its value on conversion, definitely liabilities will also lose its value on conversion. If assets lose value, we face loss. But if liabilities lose value, we definitely have gain. So obviously, if liabilities are, let's suppose liabilities are 60,000 pesos, that means on 100,000 pesos we will face loss, on 60,000 pesos we will gain. So that means we have a risk of only the net exposure. Okay, another way of hedging is that if you have some surplus financial assets, let's suppose you have some surplus cash in pesos, convert that surplus assets into the dollars. And remember one thing, you do not have to convert dollar into dollars. You do not have to face any translation risk on the dollar assets. But you can only maintain financial assets in dollar. You cannot place your building, plant and machinery in dollars because you have bought in the pesos value. You have to maintain the building in the pesos value. But if you have some cash, convert that cash in dollars. And obviously, let's suppose you have 10,000 pesos in cash. So convert that 10,000 pesos in dollars. You do not need to convert dollars into dollars. So your overall exposure will reduce. So these are the hedging methods. Arrange maximum borrowing in subsidiary currency. And second one, maintain surplus asset in parent company currency, which will reduce the overall exposure of translation risk. Like in our example, arrange maximum borrowing in pesos and arrange maximum surplus assets, means only financial assets, in dollars. The next type of risk is economic risk. And what is the economic risk? Let's suppose, let's learn this example with the help of, learn this concept with the help of an example. Let's suppose there are two countries which are exporter. One is AB and the other is XYZ. Both are exporting, let's suppose, at $10. And it has a rate of 100 pesos over dollar. So its local sale will be 1,000 pesos. Let's suppose this another country has a currency of 60. Let's suppose Indian rupee over dollar. Its sales will be 600 Indian rupee. And both companies are earning margin of 10%. Okay, both have the fixed number of customers. Both are exporting them at a price of $10. The quantity and the quality of products are same, and both are earning a 10% margin. Let's suppose if Indian currency gets depreciated and depreciated to, let's suppose, 70 rupee per dollar. So that means Indian sales will rise to 700 Indian rupee and their margin will rise. What they do, let's suppose, in order to get the higher number of orders, they reduce the price to $9. And if they reduce the price to $9, obviously they will attract all your business at $9 because the buyer of your products will shift to this country, to this exporter, because they have reduced the prices. And when you multiply $9 with the 70 Indian rupee, it still has the highest price, it still has the better margins. So what is the solution? What are you going to do? Obviously, you will also reduce price. And if you reduce price, your sale will decrease and your margin will go down. You have done nothing wrong, but if your competitor's currency depreciates, you will face loss. Let's suppose the other country has done nothing. Your own currency gets appreciated. Let's suppose your own currency gets appreciated to 90 pesos per dollar. Your sale will go down. So if your competitor currency depreciates or your own currency appreciates, you will face loss. That is economic risk. Economic risk will be faced by the importer, even exporter. Even if you are not exporter or importer, you still face economic risk. Let's suppose you are a local manufacturer. You buy locally, you sell locally. But your currency moves in such a way that your customer has more advantage in importing that goods from abroad. So they will stop buying from you. They will import that product from another country. You are not even importer. You are not even exporter, but you still face loss. That is the economic risk. So what is the solution of economic risk? So what is the solution for AB company? They do not have any control on the selling price, but they can change the cost. Can change the cost level. So what is the solution? Shift your manufacturing units to the cheaper labor areas. Like what the Apple company has done, they have shifted their plant to the China because to manufacture their products in a very cheaper labor rates. Create innovative and differentiated products to create brand loyalty. Create such an innovative or differentiated products that investors, even investors, buy your products at a higher prices. Diversify into new products, create the new products which your competitor has not created, and diversify into the new markets where your competitor is not present. So that's how you're going to tackle the economic risk. Now the last risk and the most important, the transaction risk. Transaction risk refers to adverse changes in the exchange rate before the transaction is finally settled. Let's suppose you are in UK and you export some goods for $500,000. The spot is $1.50 over pound. And you believe that you will receive some amount at $1.50 over pound. But obviously there is a time lag between the receipt and after 6 months, when you actually receive the $500,000, the currency moved to, let's suppose, $1.6 per pound. Obviously, if you had received that amount on at the spot, that will be converted at 1.50, but after 6 months, this amount will be converted at $1.60 per pound. So the adverse movement which you face will result in the loss of some value. And that loss in value will be the transaction risk. So transaction risk refers to adverse changes in the exchange rate before the transaction is finally settled. There are many ways to resolve this risk. There are many ways to hedge this risk. First one is internal hedging method, and second one is external hedging method. The internal hedging method means invoice in home currency. Obviously, if you invoice in your home currency, that means you will transfer your risk to the other party. And if you transfer your risk to the other party, that means you will not face any risk. This method will only be applied if you have some bargaining power, you have some monopoly power, and customers has no option. In this scenario, you can invoice your customer and supplier in home currency. Matching foreign currency, examiner will not specifically ask this hedge, but in every question you will have to apply this. Like, if you have exports, $400,000 after 6 months, and at the same time you have imports of $300,000 after 6 months. In this scenario, you should only care the difference of these two, because $300,000 import will be hedged against the $300 of exports, because both of these amounts will be cancelled out each other. The remaining $100,000 exports will be hedged from the external hedging method. You can only perform hedging if currencies and timings are same. If currencies and timings are same, then you will apply the matching principle. Okay, the next one is netting. Netting is a process in which all transactions of a group companies are converted into the same currency. So let's have an explanation. Let's suppose there's a parent company in USA. Parent company is in USA. Its one subsidiary is in UK. Another subsidiary is in Europe. Another subsidiary is in UAE. And let's say another subsidiary is in India. Parent currency will be dollars, UK currency will be pound, euro, AED, Indian rupee. So these are 5 companies in a group. So obviously group have its own transaction. UK company must have sold something to the USA company must have sold something to the Europe company. All of these 5 companies have some transaction with each other. So netting is a process to reduce this transaction into smaller number. So what we're gonna do here, we will sit together and convert all of these different currency transactions into one single currency. We will convert all of these different currency transactions into the single currency. Obviously, that single currency will be the parent currency. So the first step is netting the process in which all transactions of a group companies are converted into the same currency, and then credit balances are netted off against the debit balances. So the first step will be convert all transactions of group companies, or in case of multilateral, netting the other non-group companies into the same currency. And normally that same currency will be the parent company currency. And all transactions of the group companies will be converted into the same currency, of the parent company, using the spot rate. You have to use the mid spot rate. What is mid spot rate? The average of bid and offer. Because if the subsidiary and parent, it will be export for one party and it will be import for another party. So what will we do? We will convert all the transaction using the mid spot rate. Okay, then you have to make that transaction matrix, this table. What is it? Let's suppose there are 3 companies, USA, UK and Europe company. So if you have written these companies in a sequence in rows, you have to maintain that same sequence in a column. Payment will be read down, receipt will be read across. Let's suppose there is a transaction that USA company and UK company. Let's suppose there is a transaction that USA company owe $100 to the UK company. That means USA company is going to pay $100 to the UK company. So it's a payment for USA. So you will write down right under the USA company, and it is a receivable for UK company. So you will read payment down and you will read receipt across. So that $100 should be written under the USA and in front of the UK. So let's suppose there is another transaction that Europe owe $300 to the UK company. That means Europe will have to pay $300 to the UK company. So if Europe is going to pay, you will have to write under the Europe head and in front of the UK. Okay, then we have to take the total of all receipts and total of all payments. Then those receipts will be netted off against the total payment, and we have the net amounts. So companies with the negative balance will pay the amounts to the companies having positive balances. Let's suppose these both have the negative balances and Europe has a positive balance. That means these 2 companies will pay that much amount to the Europe company. So number of transactions between the group will reduce to one simple total at the end of the netting process. Okay, apply these simple steps, you can solve many questions of netting, which we solve in some practice. Okay, now let's move to the next area. Before starting this, if you have any question from the previous slides, You may ask now. Let's have a quick discussion on this netting question. This is from June 2013 attempt. Okay, let's have a quick reading. The requirement of this question is calculate using the tabular format the transaction matrix, the impact of undertaking multilateral netting by the Kanduri Co. and its 3 subsidiary companies for the cash flows due in 3 months. So cash flows are due in 3 months, and examiner has asked to form a transaction matrix. Briefly discuss why some governments allow companies to undertake multilateral netting while others do not. Okay, the question has some 10 marks. So let's have a reading of this question. Quickly read this part. So it's a large multinational company based in UK with a number of subsidiary companies around the world. So it has many subsidiaries, and its UK company has the currency of pound, and following cash flows are due in 3 months between the main company and its subsidiaries. One subsidiary is in dollar based and the other subsidiary is in Canadian dollar based, and the last subsidiary is Japanese yen. Owed by means you have to pay. Owed to means you are going to receive. Okay, these are the transactions in different currencies, and this is the spot rate. First step is to calculate the average of spot rate. Like how you gonna do it? Add 1.5938 plus 1.5962 divided by 2. It will be like 1.5950. Then add these two divided by 2. Then add these two divided by 2. Then convert all of these different currency transactions into the pound. And then the next step will be to form a table in which write the country name with the company name, write country name, and then the company name, UK, USA, Canada, and the Japan. If you have written in this sequence, you have to maintain the sequence in downward. Okay, payment D down. So let's suppose this first transaction. This company has $1 million to Lakama Co. So you will, this is the company of UK. So you will write under the UK, but in front of this company. So then put all of these data in this table and calculate the total of receipt and payment. Let's see how the examiner has done here. Okay, the first step is examiner has calculated the mid spot rate and convert all the spot rates, convert all the transactions using the spot rates into the pound currency and put all these payments into this structure. And then we take total of all receipts. These are the total of all receipts. And then we take the total of all payments. Then these receipts and these payments will be netted off against each other. Now there is a balance, negative balance for UK and Canada and Japan. That means these three companies will pay that much amount to the USA company. USA company is a positive balance, so USA company will receive these balances. So that's how you're going to do netting. First step is to calculate mid spot. Second step, convert all transaction into one currency. And which one currency? Normally the currency of parent. And then put all those transactions into this table. And what is the key point to remember in this table? That is, if you have written this sequence, you have to maintain this sequence in downward. And normally payment is being read downward, receipt is being read across. Put all these transactions into this table, take the total of receipt, take the total of payment, take its net value, and write in the comment that negative balances company will pay that much amount to the positive balance companies. So that's how we're going to solve the netting question. So I think netting is now, netting concept is now clear. Okay, there's a question why some countries not encourage netting. Why some countries do not encourage netting? Because if we perform netting, there will be lesser transactions. If there are less number of transactions, government will charge its transaction cost. Government will charge tax on the transactions and bank will charge transaction cost on the transactions. So if there are less number of transactions, government revenue and banks revenue will go down. So that's why governments do not allow netting in some countries. Okay, now let's move to the next concept. It's a forward contract. What is forward? Forward contract is an agreement made today between buyer and seller to exchange a specific quantity of an underlying asset at a predetermined future date at a predetermined price. So forward is a legally binding contract between two parties to buy or sell currency in advance at predetermined rate and a pre-specified date. So it's a very basic, very easy concept. Let's suppose you are in UK, your currency is pound, and and there are export receipts of $500,000 after 6 months. Today's spot rate is 1.30, $1.31 over pound. 6-month rates are the 6-month forward rate are this. So you will go to the bank and you will try to lock the forward contract. Bank will show these two rates to you. Obviously, you know, in order to convert export receipts, you are going to divide it, and when you divide the receipts with the rate, you will choose the higher rate. So you will lock $1.33 over pound with the bank. Now your confirmed receipt amount will be $375,940. You will receive this amount whatever the circumstances in future. Whether currency depreciates, whether currency appreciates, your locked amount is this. Okay, what examiner can do? Examiner can give you 3-month rate, and examiner can give you the 8-month rate. But question is from the 6-month rate. Okay, how are you going to solve it? You will take the difference. Its difference will be 0.10. The base rate is 3 months. The higher rate is 8 months, but we do not need 3 or 8 months. We need 6 months. In this case, you will take the difference, and these differences are for 5 months. We have a base of 3 months, and we need only the difference of remaining 3 months. We will be at 6 months, and this is a difference of 5 months. So if this is a difference of 5 months, well, what will be the difference of 3 months? Obviously, it will be 0.06. Now, add or less this difference to the base rate. If trend is increasing, obviously the trend is increasing. Add that difference to the base rate, and if trend is decreasing, deduct that difference from the base rate. So 1.28 plus 0.06. The 6-month forward will be 1.34. So that's how you're going to solve the missing forward rate. This is interpolation, which we have discussed here. Okay, next concept is money market hedge. This is purely the F9 concept. I'm skipping here, but steps are given. I am moving to the next concept, that is derivative. Okay, derivatives are very simple. You know the basic definition of derivative. It will settle in future. Initial amount to be paid is nil or low. They will drive their value from some underlying. And normally there are 2 types of market in which derivative is present. First one is over-the-counter derivative, and second one is exchange-traded derivative. The exchange-traded derivatives have standardized contracts. Like if you want to trade, let's suppose pound, the pound contract will be 62,500. If you want to trade euro contract has, let's suppose, $125,000. But over-the-counter contracts are customized. It can be settled in any currency. It can be done in any currency, in any amount. Exchange-traded derivatives are available in major currencies like pound, euro, Japanese yen, Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar, like Canadian dollar, like US dollar. Over-the-counter derivatives are available in any currency, because it's a private contract. And whenever 2 private institutions are in a contract, they can done their contract in any currency. Exchange-traded derivative has a famous settlement date: March, June, September, December, inspired from the ACCA examination dates. Over-the-counter derivatives can be settled on any date. This contract can be of 5 days, 10 days. It can be for 4 months date. Exchange traded derivatives require some initial margin. What is it? Like, if you want to trade on exchange traded derivatives, you have to open account with a broker, and by putting some amount in that account, let's suppose you have opened account of $1,000. That is initial margin. Let's suppose you have entered into a contract that you will buy oil at $50 per barrel. You have entered into a contract to buy $50 per barrel oil, and you have put the deposit of $1,000. Your contract will mark to market daily. Gain or loss will be settled on daily basis with a concept named as mark to market. Let's suppose on a next day oil moved to $55, but you have a contract to buy oil at $50, but now price of that oil is $55. That means you have earned $5 on per barrel. That $5 will be added to this initial margin. And if on a next day oil go down to $40, but you have a contract to buy that oil at $50, obviously you will face loss and your margin account will go down. So gain or loss will be settled on a daily basis using mark to market concept, and there will be no risk of default, because if you want to default, you already have some deposited security with the exchange, so you can't default. If you are facing loss, we have already deducted amount from your margin account, so there is no need to default here. And let's suppose you are continuously facing loss and your account has go down to as low as $600. There is another level at $600. It's a maintenance margin. Like maintenance margin. If your amount go down from the maintenance margin, you will get a call that is called margin call, and broker will request you to put another amount and refill this margin box to the $1,000. The difference between these two is a variation margin. So if you want to trade on exchange traded derivative, you should have an account with a broker in which you have deposited the initial margin, and if you are facing loss on a daily basis, your loss will be settled with this margin account on a daily basis. And if you have faced extraordinary loss and your margin account has go down from the maintenance margin level, you will receive margin call and you will be requested to refill it to the initial margin level. So in exchange traded derivative, investor will face no loss. Okay, now what about the over the counter derivative? There is no need to put some amount on margin, and gain or loss will be settled at maturity. So at maturity, there will be two conditions. Either you will be facing a huge loss, or you will be at a huge profit stage. So there is a higher risk of default. In exchange traded derivative, the counterparty, the other party, the party to which you are in a contract is a clearing house, but in over the counter derivatives, the counterparty is another investors. Exchange traded derivative, the example of exchange traded derivative is a future contract. The example of over the counter derivative is a forward contract. So these are the differences between over the counter derivatives and exchange traded derivatives. So if you have any question from this area, type in the chat box, and we are taking a break of 10 minutes. Welcome back. Let's start with the new area. Okay, the next topic is future contract. It's a legally binding contract between clearinghouse. It's not a clearing house, obviously. Clearinghouse investor to buy and sell currency in future at predetermined rate and pre-specified date. What are the common features of future contract? It has a standardized contract size. It is available in all currencies except dollar, because normally all currencies are quoted against dollar, but it can be available in US dollars, but normally it is available in other currencies because all other currencies are normally quoted against dollar. Settlements are March, June, September and December. Tick is the minimum movement. Tick is a concept, which is the minimum movement of the future contract. So tick is the minimum movement of the future contract. It's not movement, it's movement. Minimum movement is in ticks. So tick is equal to contract size into 0.01%. Let's suppose contract size is 62,500, and by taking its 0.01%, so tick value will be 6.25. For Japanese yen, tick size is 1 millionth part, 0.0001%. So let's suppose if Japanese yen has a contract size of 12.5 million yen, its tick size will be equal to 12.5 yen. Okay, the main concept is when you're going to buy future and when you are going to sell future. If you want to buy any currency in future, buy that currency future. If you want to sell any currency in future, then sell that currency future. Let's suppose you are going to buy pound in future, then you will have to buy pound future. Buy pound future doesn't mean you have bought something. Buy pound future means you are entered into a contract that after 3 months you will buy pound at this specified rate. And which currency we are going to buy or sell? You have to think according to the contract size currency. You have to think according to the contract size currency. Let's have a look at the next slide. Let's suppose you are in USA. Let's suppose you are in USA. Your home currency is dollar, and you are about to receive 300,000 pound as exports. Obviously, if you receive 300,000 pound, you are going to sell that pound. And if you are going to sell that pound after 3 months, so that means you have to hedge that. And you are receiving pound and you want to sell that pound, and contract is also in pounds. So think in the contract size currency. So what you gonna do with pound? So you are going to sell that pound. So you book a contract like sell pound future contracts. If you are in UK, your home currency will be pound and you are receiving $600,000. When you receive $600,000, that means you are going to sell the dollars. And if you are going to sell the dollars, that means you will sell dollar and you will receive pound. But unfortunately, contract is not in dollars, contract is in pound. So that means you have to think in pound. Although you are selling dollars, but you can't book a contract in dollars, you have to book a contract in pound. It's a very simple concept. If you are going to sell dollars, that means you ultimately you will have to buy the pound. So book a contract, buy pound future. You always have to think in contract size currency. In this example, example number 2, you are receiving dollars. Obviously, you are going to sell the dollars, but contract is not in dollars. Contract is in pound. So, if you are going to sell dollars, definitely you are going to buy pound. So, book contract like this, buy pound future. So, example number 4, your currency is yen, and you have an import of $1 million. And if you have an import of $1 million, that means you have to buy dollars. Contract is not in dollars. Contract is in yen. So if you are going to buy dollars, that means you are going to sell the yen. And if you are going to sell the yen, book a contract, sell yen future. You always have to think in contract size currency. Okay, example number 3. Your currency is euro. Your home currency is euro, and you are going to receive 600,000 pound. In which currency we have to think, pound or euro? In pound. So what are you going to do with the pound? We are going to sell the pounds. So sell the future now. Sell pound future contracts. So this is a very basic concept. If you try to think in contract size currency, if contract is in pound, think in pound. If contract is in euro, think in euro. If contract is in dollars, think in dollars. Okay, follow these simple steps to solve the future contract. First step, identify the amount of currency to be hedged. Decide whether to buy or sell future. Decide whether to buy or sell future. Obviously, if you want to buy currency, buy future. If you want to sell currency, sell future. Think according to the contract size currency. We have just discussed this concept in the previous slide. Next, identify the settlement date. Identify the settlement date expiring immediately after the payment is due to be paid or received. Let's suppose you will receive amount in May. Then select a contract. Select a settlement date which is expiring immediately after the May. So which contract is immediately expiring after the May? That is June. Select June. So identify the settlement date expiring immediately after the payment is due to be paid or received. So if you are going to receive in May, select the June contract. If you are going to receive in July, select the September contract. If you are going to receive in September, even if you are going to receive in September, select the September contract, because the contract of September means end of September. Okay, the next step is calculate number of contract, transaction amount over contract size. Let's suppose your transaction amount is in dollars and your contract size is in pound. If transaction currency is different from the contract size currency, in this example, then using the future rate which you have selected in above steps, then using the future rate, convert the transaction amount currency into the same currency of contract size. Then using the future rate, convert the transaction amount currency into the same currency of contract size. Okay, the next step is calculate basis. What is basis? Basis is current spot rate minus opening future rate. Current spot rate minus opening future rate. What is opening future rate? Which you have selected in above steps. What is current spot rate? Which will be available at the time of transaction. The difference between current spot rate and opening future rate is the difference. Is called the basis. Let's suppose currently is today 1st July, and the future rate is of 31st December, and you are going to receive amount on 1st November. The difference between spot at 1st July and the opening future rate of December is called the basis. And it is assumed that this difference will diminish to zero over the time. As you move toward December, this basis will reduce evenly over the period of 6 months. So the difference between spot and the opening future rate is called basis, and it is assumed that over the time this basis will reduce to zero. So let's suppose our transaction is on 1st November. That means over the period of 4 months, this difference has been reduced, or the difference of 4 months has been reduced. Now the only difference which is left is of 2 months. So take the total difference, divided it with the total time period. The difference is straightforward from the difference of current spot and opening future rate. Total months, the timing difference of spot rate and the opening future rate. Multiply it with the remaining months. And in this scenario, 4 months has been passed and the remaining months are 2. So this will be the remaining basis. Okay, you do not have to calculate closing future, gain or loss, and final transaction. You just have to calculate effective rate, which is lock-in rate. What is it? Take the opening future rate and adjust the remaining 2 months basis from it and calculate the adjusted or affected future rate at the end of November. So in lock-in rate, calculate the opening future rate, which is given in the question, and adjust the remaining basis point with it. We know from the basic that if spot rate is 1.3 and December future price is 1.4, this is the upward trend. Gradually over the period, this 1.3 will become equal to 1.4. Let's suppose when 4 months has been passed, that means 4 month period has been adjusted. Only 2 month bases are remaining. So calculate the remaining bases and adjust those remaining bases with the opening future and calculate the lock-in rate. Calculate the effective future rate. So opening future rate, which is 1.4, and adjust those remaining bases with the opening future rate. You have calculated the lock-in rate, the effective rate, on which ultimately all transaction is going to convert. But if this trend is going upward, obviously 1.3 to 1.4 trend is going upward, we are adjusting this remaining basis with the opening future rate. So we are not going forward, we are coming from the last one to back. So we will adjust these remaining basis point opposite to the normal rule. Like if trend is upward, we will deduct this basis point. If trend is going downward, we will add these remaining basis point. And the final step, convert the foreign currency into the home currency using lock-in rate. You do not have to calculate the closing future. You do not have to calculate gain or loss. You do not have to calculate the ultimate transaction. You only have to calculate the lock-in rate. How are you going to calculate lock-in rate? First step, calculate basis. That is the difference between current spot and opening future. The difference between current spot and opening future is basis. Divide that basis with the total month and multiply it with the remaining month, calculate remaining basis and adjust those remaining basis with the opening future rate. But be careful in adjusting those remaining basis with the closing, with the opening future rate. If trend is increasing, deduct those remaining basis from the opening future. If trend is decreasing, add those remaining basis with the opening future. By saying the trend, I mean the trend from spot rate to opening future. If spot is 1.3, if future is 1.4, the trend is upward. In that case, what is opposite to normal rule? You have to deduct. Let's suppose if trend is going downward, in that case, you have to add the remaining basis. That's how you're going to solve it, the future contract. You do not have to solve it completely by calculating gain or loss. Just calculate lock-in rate in exam and convert the transaction amount currency into the home currency using lock-in rate. Let's try to learn this concept with the help of an example. There's a past paper question in your handout section. That is CMC. So the first requirement is advise CMC company on an appropriate hedging strategy to manage the foreign exchange exposure of the US payment in 4 months. That means you have to pay in US dollar after 4 months. Show all relevant calculation including the number. We'll quickly solve the question. So quickly read the question, then we will discuss it. Okay, the question was, you are in Switzerland and your currency is Swiss francs, and you have to pay in US dollars after 4 months. Spot rate is 1.0635, and offer rate is given. How we gonna solve it? First step is you have to hedge $5.06 million payment. As it is it is a payment in dollars, that means you have to buy the dollars. But contract is in CHF, Swiss francs. When you have to buy the dollars, you can't book a dollar contract. So that means you are going to sell CHF future. Because if you sell CHF, ultimately you will buy the dollars. And when you buy dollars, after buying the dollars, you will pay it to the foreign supplier. And as you are receiving your amount after 4 months, so you will select 6-month expiry at 1.0659. Contracts are you can't divide dollar with CHF, so you will have to convert the dollar into CHF using the future rate. And number of contracts will be 38 contracts. Okay, the next step is calculate basis. And basis will be current spot rate, that is 1.0635. And the opening future, which you have selected. Okay, the remaining basis. The difference between these two are 0.0024 over 6, because the total difference is of 6 months. And obviously your transaction is after 4 months, so the remaining bases are for 2 months. So that will be equal to 0.008, and the lock-in rate will be opening future. As trend is increasing, so you will do the opposite of trend, deduct it from the opening future, so your lock-in rate will be 1.0651. That's how you're going to solve the future contract. Now just by adding one more statement, that convert your $5.06 million at 1.0651 over CHF you have effectively hedged your foreign currency at 1.0651. Okay, what examiner has done, if we move to the standard answer, the examiner has also solved 38 contracts and the rate is 1.0651. Look, there is no detail. The examiner has solved in few lines. That's what you have to do in exam. So if you have any question from this part and from the future, please type in the question section. Okay, let's move to the next area. That is of currency options. What is it? Currency option gives the buyer the right, but not the obligation to buy or sell a specific amount of currency at a specific exchange rate on or before a predetermined future rate. It is a right, not an obligation. By buying the option contract, you have purchased a right to buy or sell currency in future at a predetermined rate and at a pre-specified date. Let's suppose if you have bought a call option, that means you have a right to buy currency at a specified date and a specified rate. And if you have bought a put option, that means you have a right to sell currency at a specified rate and at a specified date. So call option means you have a right to buy. Put option means you have a right to sell. Obviously, this is a special contract in which you can have a gain, but you do not face any loss. So for this protection, a buyer has to pay a premium because this is a special contract. A currency option may be either a call or put option, we have discussed. Currency option contracts limit the maximum loss to the premium paid upfront and provide the buyer with the opportunity to take advantage of favorable exchange rate. So the option buyer is the option holder. An option buyer have a long position. The option seller is an option writer and it has a short position. There are two types of option. American option can be exercised at any time before maturity. European option can be exercised at maturity only. So this was a brief summary of the option introduction. Let's move straight to its steps. Okay, try to remember these steps because all questions will be solved in exam using these steps. First, identify the amount of currency to be hedged. Second step, decide whether to buy, call or put option. The concept is very clear and very same like the future contract. If you want to buy any currency in future, you have to buy the call option because call option will give you the right to buy currency. If you want to sell any currency in future, you have to buy put option because put option will give you right to sell that currency in future. So you have to think according to the contract size currency. So think according to the contract size. If you want to buy contract size currency, buy call option. If you want to sell contract size currency, then buy put option. Third step is same, identify the settlement date expiring immediately after the payment is due to be paid or received. Like you are going to receive the payment in June, select the June contract. If you are going to receive the payment in May, select the June contract. If you are going to receive the payment start of June, select the June contract. Fourth step, identify the excess price. Fifth step, calculate the number of contracts, foreign currency amount over contract size. And obviously, if the foreign currency amount is not same like the contract size currency, divide it, convert it into the same currency using the exercise price, using the exercise rate. Next step is calculate the premium cost. That is number of contracts into contract size into premium. And if you have calculated the premium and premium answer is not in your home currency, then using the current spot rate, convert it into the home currency. Why we are using the current spot rate? Because you have to pay the premium upfront. Okay, then the last step, that is you always have to exercise the contract because let's suppose we are at 1st July and you have selected the 31st December option and your transaction on 1st November. Obviously, you are still here and you have bought the option and you are going to decide on 1st November that you are going to exercise the option or not. You are at 1st July and you have to decide whether you are going to exercise or not on 1st November. But how can you decide this on 1st July? So that's why you always assume that option will be exercised. Okay, the exercise is the option and then you have to calculate overhedge the underhedge amount. We will try to understand this step. We will try to learn this step in solving past paper question. So let's move to the past paper question. The same question CMC, and try to solve these first 6 steps. Take your time and try to solve the first 6 steps. This was the question, CMC. Okay, let's try to solve this question. So what was the first step? Amount of currency to be hedged. I will write in a very summarized way because of lack of space, obviously. So this is the amount of currency to be hedged. What is the second step? Decide whether to buy, call, or put. So we want to buy dollars. We want to buy dollars, but contract is not in dollars. Contract is in Swiss francs. As contract is in Swiss francs, so that means if you want to buy dollars, but contract is not in dollars, you have to think in Swiss francs. That means you have to sell the Swiss francs, or you will enter into a contract in which you will buy the put option. Which put option? CHF put option. Because you will buy dollars in order to pay, but contract is not in dollars. Contract is in euro, is in CHF. So in order to buy dollars, you will have to pay. You have to sell the CHF. Sell CHF means CHF put option. Okay, the third step, the settlement date. Let's go back to the question. Our payment is after 4 months, so you will choose 6-month expiry. So the third step is 6-month expiry. Okay, the next step is exercise price. The exercise price is 1.06 and 1.07. Exercise price is 1.06 dollar over CHF and 1.07 dollar over CHF. Next step, contracts. That is currency over amount over size of contract there is 125,000. CHF, but these cannot be cancelled out, so we will have to convert it using exercise price. Same will be happened here, but it will be converted at 1.07. So the number of contracts are 38.18, but we will round it off to 38. And it will also be rounded off to 38. Next is the premium. Calculate premium cost, that is number of contracts into contract size into premium. Okay, the number of contracts are 38. Contract size is 125,000 CHF and the premium of 1.06. Premium of 1.06, put option is 2.16. Obviously, we are going to buy the put option of 6 month expiry at 1.06. It is 2.16, but it is in cents over CHF. So it will be 0.0216, and in this scenario it will be 0.0263 dollar over CHF. So the answer will be in 38 into $125,000 into 0.0216. Okay, and this will be but this is in dollars. We need to convert it into our home currency, that is CHF. Let's go back to the question. And the spot trade was 1.0635. So we will convert at 1.0635. And it will be and this will be equal to okay, we have solved almost all steps except last. If you have any question till now, please ask. After that, we will solve the last step. Okay, let's move to the last step. I'm adding a new slide here. Okay, in last step, you will state an assumption that option will be exercised. Okay, when you exercise the option, when you write this statement, just think what you have locked in a shape of option. What you have done the contract. You have done the put option, CHF put option. That means you are going to pay the CHF. So why you are going to pay CHF? In order to receive the dollars. So CHF put option means you are going to pay CHF. And if you are going to pay CHF, you will definitely going to pay 38 contracts. So exercise option means you will pay the CHF, that means 38 contract, and one contract is of 125,000 CHF value. So that means you will pay 4750,000. You will pay this amount. If you pay this amount, in return, you will receive dollars, because when you have booked the CHF put option, that means you will pay the CHF and in exchange you will receive dollars, and definitely you will receive dollars at 1.06 rate, and that dollar amount will be $5035,000. What you gonna do with this amount? Definitely you will take this amount and pay the foreign supplier. But supplier payment was not this amount. Supplier payment was 5060,000. You have only received 5035, but in order to pay the supplier, you need 5060. That means you are short of $25,000. This balance is short. Okay, you will take assumption that you will buy this balance at a forward rate. Always take assumption that this overhedge or underhedge amount will be bought or sold at forward rate. So we will buy balance amount at forward rate. So look into the question. What was the forward rate? Okay, the forward rate is 1.0677. We will convert and that will become 23,414. Obviously, you are going to buy it. This is also payment. And adjust the premium cost with it. And premium cost was 96474. That's a total payment. Okay, in case of this exercise price, you will take the same assumption that you will exercise as the number of contracts were same. You will receive you will pay the same amount as you are paying in CHF, you will receive in dollars, and you will receive 5082 500, but you are going to pay only 5060,000. That means you have excess of 22,500. Book a forward and sell that amount at forward. That is 22,500 at 1.0677. And when we convert, it will become 21,073. This will be in positive because you are receiving this amount. And premium cost is 117,466. Is also negative. And obviously you will choose that excess price in which there will be total cost will be lower. That's how you're gonna solve it. And last step, I'm again repeating the steps. And last step, take an assumption that you will exercise option. Just think what contract you have done. In this part, we have a locked CHF put option. That means you will pay the CHF. 38 contract, one contract has a 125,000 CHF. We are going to pay CHF. We are going to pay CHF. That means we will receive dollars. And we will receive dollars at excess price. Why we are receiving dollars? In order to pay the supplier. And if foreign supplier has a higher payment and we are receiving less, we will buy the balancing amount at forward. And if we are receiving higher amount but we are paying lower amount, we will sell this amount at a forward contract. Okay, if you are in exam and you are short of time, if you are in exam and you are short of time and you have this question, you can ignore this over hedging or under hedging amount. You can ignore this over hedging or under hedging amount just by stating in an exam that you have taken an assumption that you are going to ignore this overhedge or underhedge amount because it is immaterial. If you are in exam, you are short of time, and you think that if you solve this step, it will consume your time and you are not able to complete it, then take an assumption that you are going to ignore the overhead and underhead amount because it is immaterial. Obviously, in front of 4.7 million CHF, this 23,000 CHF can be material. Okay, that's how you're going to solve this part in exam. If you have any question, let's have a discussion. Okay, let's suppose we have a question in exam. About the over the counter option. Remember, we have discussed all the 7 steps of exchange traded option. What if there is a question from the what if there is a question in exam about the over the counter option? In that case, question will be simple, like I will explain. Like there will be first step, there will be second step, but there will not be any third step. Because in over the counter option, there is no standard settlement date. It can be of 2 months, 2.5 months, 2.75 months. And there will be 4 steps, but you do not need to identify. There will be only one exercise price. You do not have to calculate number of contracts. You have to calculate premium cost, but not in this way. Premium percentage will be given. Obviously, multiply it with the transaction amount. And there will be no 7 step will not be like this. It will not be like this. You simply have to convert your transaction amount at strike price, strike rate. It's better to write strike rate. And then adjust the premium cost. That's it. So you do not have to solve third step. You do not have to identify the excess price. Excess price will only one excess price will be given. There will be no fifth step. You will not have to calculate premium cost like the way which we used to calculate. And you do not have to solve the 7 step like we have done in the exchange traded. It will be like this. Simply have to convert your transaction amount at strike rate and then adjust the premium cost. If it is payment, premium will be added. If it is receipt, premium will be subtracted. So what I have discussed now, I have discussed the procedure to solve over the counter option. Okay, you can solve the question Uh, these are past paper questions. I am writing the name. You can do practice by solving these questions. We have not covered currency swap. We will cover in tomorrow's webinar session. And in tomorrow's session, we will be covering interest rate risk management. That's all from today's session. Okay, that's all from today's session. If you have any query, you can email me, and we will meet tomorrow to have a discussion of interest rate risk management.